Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into a seriously fascinating game of digital cat and mouse. We're going to unpack exactly how security architects are outsmarting digital thieves by building completely undetectable traps. We'll be looking at a revolutionary framework called Phantom, and honestly, it's pretty much changing the entire landscape of cyber deception.
Okay, so let's get right into it. To really get what Phantom is all about, we first need to talk about the foundational concept of a honey token. Think of a honey token as a digital tripwire. It's a fake password, maybe a bogus AWS key, or just a dummy database record sitting on your system. It has absolutely zero legitimate purpose, so if anyone or any bot interacts with it, boom, you instantly know you've got an intruder and an alarm is triggered. It is a brilliant way to catch attackers red-handed, even if they've somehow slipped past your perimeter defenses.
But here's the massive problem we're facing right now. What happens when the hackers, and especially those relentless automated AI-driven scanners they use, know exactly what your traps look like? Because, as it turns out, standard honey tokens have a fatal flaw when exposed to modern adversarial tools.
Section 1. Why current decoys fail. If you think about how most honey tokens are made today, they rely heavily on generic templates. You might get a fake AWS credential with a completely standard region and a generic username like admin or test. Now, to a human rushing through or just a basic script, sure, it looks like a real key, but to a sophisticated automated scanner, it looks completely fake and out of place. This is where the Phantom framework steps in. Instead of generic junk, it builds authentic-looking credentials embedded with specific organizational context. So if your company is a fintech startup called Payflow, the fake credential isn't going to say admin. It's going to say something like payflow_payments_API_deploy. It perfectly mirrors the actual naming conventions of your unique environment.
Section 2. Enter Phantom. Contextual Mimicry.
To really grasp why Phantom, which, by the way, stands for Polymorphic Honeytoken Adaptation with Narrative-Tailored Organizational Mimicry, is such a breakthrough, we have to understand the semantic gap. Think of standard template-based decoys like a Hollywood movie set. From the front, it looks exactly like a real bank, right? It's got the right shape, the right sign, the doors. That's what we call syntactic validity. It's formatted correctly. But if you open the door and look behind the facade, it's literally just empty wood and scaffolding. That is the semantic gap. A skilled hacker doing reconnaissance will instantly spot that it's a fake. Phantom, on the other hand, builds a fully functioning, contextually accurate bank. It completely closes that gap by ensuring the trap doesn't just look like a credential, it actually looks like your credential.
Section 3. Defining the believability score.
You can't just guess if a trap is going to work out in the wild. Researchers actually mathematically measure the illusion of these digital traps. They formalized token quality using a really clever 4-component checklist to create a unified believability score. First up, syntactic validity. Is it formatted correctly? Second, semantic coherence. Does it actually fit the organization's unique context? Third, statistical normality. Does the entropy or the randomness of the data match real credentials? And finally, human acceptance rate. Does it actually fool human cybersecurity experts? By combining these, they created a rigorous mathematical way to grade a trap's illusion.
Section 4. The proof. Fooling everyone.
When you map out the performance data, it is eye-opening. Traditional template-based traps show this collapsed, super asymmetrical footprint. They score high on having the correct format, that syntactic validity we talked about, but they just absolutely fail on semantic coherence and human acceptance. It's that Hollywood facade again. But Phantom? It creates this massive, beautifully balanced polygon of performance. It pushes the boundaries outward across literally every single dimension, visually proving its superiority in creating a well-rounded, fully believable digital illusion. And the real-world results of that expanded performance are just staggering. When put to the test, those standard template decoys fooled human evaluators a meager 6.2% of the time. They were basically useless against trained eyes. But Phantom's context-rich tokens, they skyrocketed to 100% human acceptance rate. Every single expert evaluator believed the Phantom token was a legitimate piece of their organization's infrastructure. It's wild.
When you actually plot believability against detection resistance, the full picture of defense comes into focus. The old templates sit completely outside the ideal zone, but Phantom tokens undeniably prove the success of the framework. They are clustered exclusively up there in the ideal green zone, meaning they are incredibly believable and highly resistant to being flagged as fakes by automated tools. And this is absolutely crucial. Let's talk about how Phantom fares against modern machine learning classifiers, because ML is the true frontier of detection right now. It's what hackers use to sniff out traps.
The detection probability for traditional templates by an ML classifier is over 50%. But Phantom, it drops that detection rate to an incredible 16.2%. It renders the traps practically invisible to automated adversarial tools. The scanners literally just glide right past them, assuming they are normal, boring operational data.
Section 5. The future of cyber defense. What you should really take away from this is the sheer operational brilliance of the Phantom system. While so many modern tools rely on pinging out to cloud AIs or large language models, Phantom operates completely natively. Actually, it requires zero outbound network dependency. And that means it can be deployed in the most highly classified, air-gapped, and sensitive environments on Earth. Think government networks or critical infrastructure power grids without introducing any new security vulnerabilities whatsoever.
As the researchers emphasized in their findings, just having the right structure is no longer enough. Syntactic validity is just the baseline now. Semantic coherence, making absolutely sure the trap fits perfectly into the story and the specific architecture of the organization, that is the undisputed king of digital deception. Context really is everything.
Which leaves us looking toward the horizon. I want to leave you with this provocative thought to ponder. As our defensive traps learn to mimic reality perfectly, right down to the statistical entropy of a specific startup's internal naming conventions, how will future attackers ever know what's real and what is a phantom? The game of cyber deception has just leveled up, and reality itself is now the ultimate trap.